Hi folks, over the past week or so I've been doing a little bit of psi research and psi experimentation into true-false guessing, I suppose you would call it, or 50-50 chance guessing. This is really based upon the sort of research that you find in Dean Radin's book, The Noetic Universe, which is published as The Conscious Universe in the United States. And in there he has a rather surprising statistic. Let me just refer to it. I have it in my notes here. That over the course of 2.6 million trials, well, not trials, 2.6 million guesses involving dice throws, I believe, he ended up with a hit rate of 51.2%. Which is, it seems very low, but when you've got 2.6 million, you should be very, very close to an even 50-50 split between hits and misses. So if that's true, then that's remarkable. So I wasn't going to use dice. Dice are not great because they're not always weighted very evenly. The side that has the 6 on it has a slightly different weight than the side with the 3 and so on. And we also know that coins are not weighted exactly the same on both sides. Now, I don't know whether that would really affect the results to any significant level, but I decided to use cards. So my method was basically to give the deck a really good shuffle and then try to guess the outcome of the top card. So there it is in my hand at the moment. I'm going to guess that that's a black card. Black or red. Keep it simple. So if it's a diamond or heart, that's red. If it's spades or clubs, that's black. 50-50 chance. I choose black. It's black. So I would give myself a hit, and on a piece of paper I would have 2 columns, and I'd start to mark off how many hits and how many misses. So the next one, I think, actually, before I do that, I should give it another quick shuffle. Probably not necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. Next one, I think, will also be black. It's red. So I give myself a miss. So far, I'm at 50-50. One more try. I think it's going to be red. It's red. That's 2 hits. Next one, I think, is also going to be red. It's black. A miss. 2 hits, 2 misses. Now, so far it's evening out, but sometimes you can get like 5 hits in a row. So the idea is that you're just using a gut feeling that may be connected to something of a psychic nature. So it's not that you're going to get, an alarming statistic like you're going to get 8 out of every 10 right over the course of maybe 1,000 tries. All you really have to do to prove that something unusual is happening is beat odds against chance. Now, to show you what odds against chance are, I decided to use Microsoft Excel, use the random number generator in Microsoft Excel. And the function at the bottom of the screen at the moment, that's what you can put in a cell in Excel to generate either a 0 or a 1. And there's a 50-50 chance whether it will be either. So that's a simulated coin flip. So I produced a huge big grid of data that I transformed into the following chart. Now let me explain what this all means. It looks like a mess initially. Now you don't really have to untangle those lines. They're really just designed to identify a trend. There are 100 trials. Each trial consists of 10,000 computer-generated coin tosses using the random number generator, and it goes from left to right. So where it says 1 on the x-axis along the bottom, that means 100 coin tosses have been done. Simulated coin tosses have been done at that point. Where it says 4, that means 400 have been done. 700, 1000, 1300, 1600, and so on. So the line itself actually represents the average as it's calculated at each particular point. So for instance, if I look at 22 on the x-axis and work my way up, what I have at that point, if you look at the red line along the bottom, that is the average of one particular trial at 2,200 tosses. Okay, so to the left of that you can see it fluctuates wildly. That's because those big random spikes are because we don't have really enough data. But as you can see, it starts to even out as you go to the right. Now this is a very useful chart to have, and I'll give you access to a JPEG picture of it that you can download. If you look in the notes of this video, there's a download link to a JPEG picture. So if you intend to do any sorts of trials of your own using true-false guesses in order to beat odds against chance, you can see what you need to score in order to beat odds against chance. For instance, if you were at 400 coin tosses and you scored 55%, if that was your hit rate, you can see that you're still just marginally within chance expectation. There's not necessarily any kind of psychic effect happening. You would have to score somewhere between 55 and 60 or higher for that to be the case. But you can see that if you scored 55 after doing, say, 2,500 coin tosses, that would be utterly amazing. That simply did not happen with the random number generator over 100 trials, as you can see by the chart. So it's a useful chart to bear in mind, and we might refer back to this. Now, I had the stamina to do this for 1,500, and after that I basically ran out of steam, because it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to do this, and I didn't do it all in one day. My scores I will list on the screen for you. I scored 62 in the first round of 100, 59 in the second round of 100, and I grouped them all in terms of 100 tosses. 43 in the next round, 47, 49, 56, 55, 50, 45, 53, 49, 48, 48, 37 and 49. Those were my scores. Now, we can represent my ongoing average in a graph. Here we go. And you can see that I began with an absolutely brilliant score of over 60%. And even after 200 throws, 200 card guesses, I was still over 60%. If I had stopped there, I might have been tempted to think, this must be a psychic effect. But I continued on, and it quickly plummeted well within chance expectation, down below 55, and then it continued to plummet. And by the time I had done 500 card guesses, I was at about 52 by the look of things, and it rose up a little bit, and then it went down a little bit, and it continued to go down, and by the time I was at 1,500, I was at an even 50%. Nothing strange whatsoever was going on. But if we refer back to our other chart, we can see that at 1,500 guesses, it's actually well within the bounds of chance expectation to get anything from 52 point something to anything as low as 47 point something. I just happened to be unlucky enough to get 50 on the dot. But here's where it gets really interesting, because I can stack this data in such a way as to make it appear that something unusual is going on. Now let's imagine this wasn't one experiment. Let's imagine it was actually 4 experiments, and the 4 experiments were grouped differently. So let's say the first experiment consisted of just 100 guesses, and the outcome was 62 over 100. Now the second experiment consisted of 500 guesses, so that accounts for my scores of 59, 43, 47, 49 and 56. And that averages out at 50.8%. Let's say that the third experiment was 200 guesses, that's the 55 and the 50. That averages out to 52.5. And let's say the last one consisted of the remaining 700 guesses. 45, 53, 49, 48, 48, 37, 49, averaging out at 47%. So now I have 4 final hit rates from 4 separate experiments, and if I put those together and generate the average, I don't get 50%. I get 53.075%. And if I refer back to that chart again, that actually puts me marginally outside chance expectation. I can even create a chart like this one. The red line on the far right hand side represents my own personal trial, that figure that I just quoted to you of 53.075. All the other peaks represent trials of 1500 done by the random number generator in the computer, and they are all under my score. And it seems amazing, doesn't it? But it's not, because the statistic is wrong. We used an inaccurate method of measurement, which could have given me a score anything as low as 47, anything as high as 53. Maybe it could even go higher than 53 if I just stacked the experimental data a little bit differently. Now, the interesting thing is that Dean Radin says there were 2.6 million entries in his whole meta-analysis. Now remember, this is a meta-analysis. This is not just his own personal experiments. He's trying to compile data ranging from about 3 decades or thereabouts that are done by other people. But is he actually counting all the individual hits and pitting them against that 2.6 million? Or is he taking the scores of each experiment and then dividing it by the number of experiments? Because if he's doing that, and I strongly suspect that he is, then his end result is bound to be fairly inaccurate. I mean, can you really fault what I'm doing here? My subscribers know me. I'm known for being a believer in psychic abilities. I've had some personal experience of psychokinesis. I wanted this to work out. I wanted to do my own experiment and end up with a result that was greater than odds against chance, but I didn't. It didn't work. And I would be really interested in getting some results from my own subscriber base. So if you have the interest in this and the stamina to sit down for 1500 tries, whether you do coin tosses or whether you do card guesses like I did, I would be really interested in having your data and putting it alongside my data so that I have more to work with than just my own findings. I have actually been kind of depressed for the last few days as a result of discovering this, because Dean Radin is kind of a personal hero. He's a great defender of psi, and it just seems to be that I've hit a really awful fault in his experimental design, and he relies so much on statistics. So I mean, he talks in one of the chapters in his book, he talks about using point estimates. So I'm guessing that's what he's doing in his meta-analysis. He's using point estimates regardless of whether the experiments that he's relying on had maybe only 100 rounds of guesses or 100,000 rounds of guesses in another experiment. You just can't lump them all together like that and expect to have an accurate result. The only way you can legitimately lump them together is by actually counting the individual hits and pitting them against the total 2.6 million guesses. It doesn't work any other way. So you can see how tricky this is to spot. I mean, I've been reading Dean Radin for a year or two. I have both of his books, Entangled Minds and The Noetic Universe. And he has another one out now called Supernormal that I haven't read. Can you find fault in what I'm saying here? Because this is basically, I'm knocking a personal hero off his pedestal. And I don't want to, but I think I have to. I'd be happy if anybody could tell me where I'm going wrong with this, but I don't think I am. I think the evidence for psi, from coin flipping, dice throwing, card guessing, and all such mechanisms, I think the evidence is still out, folks, and I strongly suspect that there is nothing unusual going on. So, some of you, please have a go at this. Share your data with me, and we'll do a follow-up video. By the way, what I've been talking about in this video is really just a small part of a large essay that I wrote over the last few days that I published on my blog at www.darrellsloan.com. If you're interested in examining this more carefully, head over there and you can read it all at your leisure and offer me your comments. Thank you.